Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Thomas Jefferson said, "If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done." Benjamin Franklin said, "Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning." Basically, get off your duff, get to working, you've got dreams, you've got goals, you've got to do what it takes to get them. Like, subscribe, comment, show what your opinion is. Let me know if you like what you've seen. And I thank you for your support. I don't know how many of you have read George Orwell's 1984 or his Animal Farm, but both books are intriguing. And the sad part is that 1984 has become a way for the government. It's a manual for the government in how they act. It's also a manual for groups like Google and how they act. It's gotten to the point where we need to watch what is happening. By the way, for those of y'all that think I ramble too much, well, this isn't a conversation for adults, so you can go away now, go back to bed. Okay. Now, Google has been working along with other organizations such as Facebook to hide the truth from people. Why? Because the Democrat Party works much like the Soviets did. They don't want you to know any truth but their truth, even though there's only one truth, and it's just a matter of perspective, but it's still the truth. And here's the problem that we need to work on, which is making sure that we know the knowledge, that we gather the knowledge, because they're working to erase that knowledge. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what they are doing to people. Some of it's for the betterment of liberals. Some of it's for making Republicans look bad, or, well, conservatives look bad, who are actually working to make positive changes in the world. And so let's start with that. We're going to start here. Okay, the picture above is Andrew DeGerassi. His name is Alexander DJERASSI. My redneck self in pronouncing names. Okay. Now, I'm going to read you a little bit of his resume. He graduated from Princeton in 2006 or 2005. His first job out of college was Research and Development Coordinator for Remembering for the Future Online Holocaust Survivor Testimony Database Project. Got to give him props for that. That one I have to give him props for. His next job, starting September 2007 until June 2008, was a campaign policy associate for Hillary Clinton for president. Researched and drafted memos, briefings, and policy papers for candidate, senior staff, and news media on a wide range of domestic and foreign policy issues. Prepared for more than 20 debates. Then, his next job was working 3.5 years at the U.S. Department of State, Chief of Staff, Office of the Assistant Secretary of State, Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs, and also Special Assistant, Office of the Assistant Secretary of State, Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs. After that, he was a Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, non-resident associate, co-led project providing strategic advice for the government of Tunisia and G7 countries for the perils of facing Tunisia's democratic transition. Consulted extensively with Tunisian national, local, and civil society leaders, along with the private sector and Western policymakers. Okay, He then went back and became National Security Policy Planner for Presidential Transitional Team, Clinton-Kaine Presidential Transition Team. Coordinated all national security and foreign policy planning for Secretary Clinton's pre-election transition team. Organized, managed, and oversaw approximately 40 of the nation's top foreign policy professionals, producing more than 30 memoranda for the president-elect. I love how that one's put in there because she was never elected. Including reviews of national security policy tools, regional strategies, issue papers, proposals for new initiatives, led staffing of national security and foreign affairs agency review process. Okay. He then went from there to founding team member of something called Moss.com. It's an education thing for liberals. And he's been a board member and interim executive director of one of his family members' resident artist programs, which actually sounds pretty cool. And he's a senior advisor and consultant for political, nonprofit, and pro-social private sector clients. That's his resume right there. Now, he's got two sides of his family which are somewhat known. They're rich and whatnot. But let's take a look at his aunt to give you a full idea of why he went from all those Democrat roles that he probably could have gotten in the Biden-White administration, but now he's not got any of that. This is his aunt, Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted trafficker in young girls, girlfriend to Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, pardon me. In other words, Alexander Gerasi is somebody who's affected by what his family did. Even though two of his uncles have done some things, no one in the world has made the impact that Ghislaine Maxwell has. Now, I'm not saying that Mr. Alexander there had anything to do with what his aunt was doing. But if you take a look, when you search through Google and other places, it's near impossible to find his connection to Ghislaine Maxwell. Very hard to find that connection. He doesn't mention it, and if it wasn't for a Daily Beast article that's on the front page of the Google, and it's far down on the list, there would really be no mention that Maxwell's nephew worked for Hillary Clinton in the way that he did. And if you pay attention to his resume that I read off to you, more than likely he came in contact with Hillary Clinton. Now, how would somebody who is so new out of college get all these opportunities unless there was money and power involved in his background, one of which was Ghislaine Maxwell? And of course they're going to want to hide it. He's only bringing up his father's side of his life, not bringing up his mother's side of life. Why? Because that family's become tainted thanks to this. And I bet if it wasn't for that whole Maxine Maxwell Epstein connection, he probably would be working for the current administration. But they don't list it unless you happen to scroll down far enough to find the Daily Beast article. So, that's one thing that is used as an advantage for those on the Democrat side. This is Dick and Betsy DeVos. Or DeVos. You know Betsy from being the Secretary of Education under Donald Trump. If you take a look at her Google page, it's full of how she was evil and did bad things to education. In other words, there using most of Google to trash a woman who had different goals for education than the unions. Seriously, the NEA and AFT hated her because she had proven, her and her husband had proven, that education did not need union teachers and did not need to be ran in the way that it is ran. And you want to know why? It's simple. Let me show you. This building is the West Michigan Aviation Academy. On this campus, which is a high school, it teaches kids 9 to 12. It is a public charter school. In other words, it's free because it's a public school. They've got multiple Cessna 172 aircraft for flight training. Build a plane class in which students are building a Carbon Cub EX2 plane, Redbird LD simulator, 8 Jaybird desktop flight simulator stations, a radio-controlled airplane club, DJI Inspire 2 drone, Vex robotics teams, access to 19 3D printers, more than a dozen engineering courses, the first high school level biomedical engineering class in the country, advanced computer science courses, a fully outfitted engineering fabrication lab, mentoring from local industry experts. Yes, this is a tuition-free public charter high school for grades 9 to 12. And this is what the bosses, however you pronounce their name, this is what they do. It's STEM. You know, they keep talking about STEM. So instead of teaching kids that nobody knows what their gender is, instead of teaching them weird sexual kinks, these kids are learning how to fly planes, how to build planes, advanced biomedical engineering, advanced computer science, and getting to mess around with some stuff that, honestly, I'm just in awe of. Key business industry partnerships: Gulfstream, Delta Airlines, Airbus, GE Aviation, Mayday Avionics. That's just a weird name for a company that does, yeah. Michigan Business Aviation Foundation, Kent Career Tech Center, Western Michigan University College of Aviation. Wow. This is a public high school, tuition-free charter school. This is what Betsy DeVos did. This is why the unions hate her. Because their plan is to indoctrinate kids, not educate them. And the DeVos showed how to do that. This is why she was attacked, and this is why, when you look on her Google page, it is full of things that should not be put about anybody by major names that should not be printing the stuff that they are printing. But hey, that's the way things go in this current world. Now, past the 1984 Animal Farm stuff, let's talk about one other issue before I go today. Now then, I want to address the pardoning of Daniel Perry, Sergeant Daniel Perry from the Army, by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He issued a full pardon Thursday for the former U.S. Army Sergeant. I agree that Perry should have been pardoned. Why? And I'll show you here in a minute. Part of it is that while Garrett Foster had a right to carry a firearm, and he did, I am not saying that he didn't, his attitude about the situation most likely caused Perry to fear for his life. Now, yes, Perry had made statements that were saying that he didn't like the whole thing. He had made comments on social media. But at the same time, Garrett Foster made comments himself, and I will show you here in a minute exactly what he thought of those that didn't like these protests that were considered dangerous. Don't tell me they weren't dangerous. They were. These were violent protests as seen by the burning of cities. And yes, Perry had a right to not think that these were people that were going to do the right thing. Now, I am sorry that a United States Air Force veteran got killed in the manner that he got killed. I'm sorry about that. It's saddening, but he still stepped into a situation that he should never have done this at. And it's even worse that a United States Army sergeant lost his career because of what happened. Now, let me show you a video as to the reason why I have no problems with the pardon.
Tonight we got our hands on an interview done with Garrett Foster the night he died. And in it, the interviewer asks him about his weapon.
Tell us a little bit about your gun again. It's AK-47. Why'd you got it out tonight? They don't let us march in the streets anymore, so got to practice some of our rights. Cool, man. Do you feel like you'll need to use it? Nah, I think if I use it against the cops, I'm dead. And I think all the people that hate us and, want to say to us are too big of a stop and actually do anything about it. So why'd you start carrying? Well, our roommate got arrested and they stopped letting us march anywhere, so started carrying.
Austin police still want people to come forward with any information or evidence in this shooting. We have a full look at everything we know so far about both Foster and Perry right now at KXAN.com.
I don't think that these folks should have the right to cause the mayhem that they were creating. They weren't doing normal protest. They were interrupting people's lives in a way that was causing ill will towards them when it came to blocking the traffic. And then add on top of the fact that these people were destroying cities. Now, you can agree, you can disagree, it's up to you. But does it sound like Garrett Foster was somebody who didn't have a chip on his shoulder? I mean, seriously, this man had way too much of a chip there. And how much you want to bet that his interaction with Perry was less than civil, no matter what the witnesses say. I'm wondering who these witnesses are. Now, yes, Perry should not have ran a red light or driving his car into the crowd. He probably was frustrated at that point. But you should also take into the actions of what Garrett Foster did. I agree with what Governor Perry did. Now, a little bit shorter of a video than I normally do. Was feeling bad this weekend. So I took a rest. But I have a few big videos coming soon that are going to be a little bit more interesting. So, this is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day.